My name is Carol Frost, and I'm an assistant professor here at the University of Alberta in the Department of Renewable Resources. I study arthropod community ecology, including pollinators. A pollinator is any kind of animal that facilitates plant reproduction by moving pollen from one flower to another flower, or more specifically, moving pollen from the male parts of a flower to the female parts. In some plants, those male and female parts are on separate flowers, whereas in some plant species, that pollen just needs to move within the same flower. Not all plants rely on pollinators to be pollinated. Some of them use wind pollination, or even water can carry pollen from the male parts to the female parts. But many plants, estimates are around 87% of the plants that we have on Earth require animal pollination. So what kinds of animals do pollination? Well, it's actually a huge variety. Most of them are insects, such as bees, which are the most famous kind, but other things like flies, butterflies, even beetles can be pollinators. Outside of the insect world, there are also pollinators. For example, bats in some parts of the world, and some kinds of bats are very good pollinators. Also, where they exist in Madagascar, ring-tailed lemurs are great pollinators. Birds are pollinators in many parts of the world, and even lizards. However, here in Canada, we have some birds that do pollination, but most of what does pollination is insects. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about bees. Bees are the very best pollinators for most plant species because they're well adapted to carry pollen. They have structures that are on their body specifically for carrying pollen. These include scopae, and that word is the Latin word for broom. It's actually a tuft of hairs that's either on the leg or on the underside of the abdomen, which collects pollen as a bee walks over a flower. And then that pollen stuck to the bee's scopae rubs off on another flower. Another pollen-carrying structure that some bees have, is a pollen basket, and the Latin name for that is corbicula. And corbiculae are on the outside of a bee's hind legs, and what it looks like is it's a part of the bee's leg that's flat and hairless, surrounded by curved, stiff hairs. And the bee, as it's collecting pollen from flowers, packs pollen into that basket. And so if you see a bee flying by that seems to have a yellow pill on the outside of each hind leg, that's actually a packet of pollen. So in short, there are many different kinds of pollinators, and most of them are insects, and some, like bees, are really excellent pollinators because they have so many adaptations for the job.